Hello everybody, my name is Lat Mackey and this is Sequence Break, Episode 8, StormCrow56k. First I'll let you introduce yourself and we'll talk a little bit about how you got started, and then it's fun for me I guess because that's how I discovered you. But first of all, please introduce yourself. When did you start playing video games? Like tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. Yeah, StormCrow56k. Started playing, at a very young age. I can't remember, I know we had a Nintendo and NES, very, very young. I'd say the first memory I have is I remember when we got the Power Glove. Like I vividly remember that night. Yeah. And, and we had a blast with it. It took a couple days before we, had the disappointment.
Yeah. The inevitable disappointment of the Power Glove.
Right. Yeah. And I don't remember ever seeing it again. I think my parents might have returned it or something.
I don't remember playing it with Punch Out, but I remember seeing the commercial with it looked like you could, punch the people, the boxers in Punch Out. And I don't remember it ever working like that ever. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it was terrible.
It really was.
Cool concept.
Really cool concept. So, so you were an NES guy first. Did you have any other consoles besides NES in the house? Do you remember?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, my dad was kind of into games back then. My mom played a little Tetris too. We got a Genesis after that. I remember that vividly. That was a few years later. We got it a little bit after it came out.
Dude, almost a lot of people have been talking about their parents playing Tetris. So that I always thought that was just my parents that stole our Game Boys and played Tetris. Oh, yeah. But apparently that was a thing for parents.
Yeah, Tetris is universal.
Doesn't matter what age you are, you love Tetris.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool, man. Okay, so tell us a little bit about when you first discovered speedrunning. What was your first experience with speedrunning?
Sure. Yeah, and it's funny. I was listening, to a lot of the Enemy podcast, and he talked about that TAS video, which I didn't even think about that Super Mario TAS from 04 or whatever.
Really early on.
So I guess technically that would have been it. But yeah, no, I was started getting on Twitch when I played Magic the Gathering. I still play.
Cool.
And I started streaming actually as a Magic the Gathering streamer.
Oh, nice.
Doing drafts and stuff. That's how I found Twitch, was just watching other, players draft. And I stumbled upon Arcus when he was doing his Ninja Gaiden push. And Ninja Gaiden was a huge game that I loved as a kid. And I just thought that was amazing, how great he was at it. And that kind of opened the door. And then I started checking out more streamers and, going from there.
No, I've met a couple others actually who there is some crossover between Magic and speedrunning, interestingly enough. More than I would have thought. In fact, one of the people who's already been on the podcast, Evan, he is recently fallen back into Magic from speedrunning. Oh, okay. So it's interesting that there is a little bit of that crossover. I think Magic's a really great, I think it's a really great stream game as well, because there's a lot you can talk about and there's a lot to see and there's a lot always going on in a Magic game.
Mm-hmm.
So are you playing local Magic, or are you playing some of the online player stuff? Stuff, I'm sorry.
Online when I was streaming.
Okay.
Yeah. So drafting, for people who aren't familiar, that's my focus, or limited. So you take a few packs of cards and you pick one card, you pass the pack,
cool.
Pick the next card. So you build a deck on the fly. So it's a way, I don't know, it's just way more interesting to me. But yeah, so I was doing that. And it's just super expensive unless you're really, really good. Yeah.
There's a reason Wizard of the Coast is still in business.
Yeah. Oh, they're raking it in.
Yeah, it seems like Magic's as popular as it ever has been right now. I don't know if that's actually the case, but it seems that way. The online thing has really hit.
Yeah. Magic Arena came out, I think a year and a half ago or something, which is kind of their prettier Hearthstone-y, version. So yeah, that's brought a lot of attention to it for sure, which unfortunately it's just nerding out a little bit on Magic here too. Really? I played Magic Online, the original client, which I still prefer.
Yeah.
It's not flashy, but it's a better client for hardcore Magic players. So
no, I think it's great to geek out for saying. So I played Magic when I was in middle school. I played the card game, and I think it was 3rd edition, or maybe it was around revised. But after that, I didn't play after that. So it took me a long time to understand. I still need people to explain what's happening, because there's all these different mechanics and as it should be. The game has evolved. But I think if you even have the faintest interest in a card game, Magic is really, really interesting as a card game. Like still to this day, the fact that there are, I don't know how many sets there are of games, and you can still play a game of Magic with all these different sets. It's especially except for just a couple cards. It's pretty amazing.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're not stopping anytime soon either.
No, not at all. So you mentioned Arcus, and he's another one of those. If you're not familiar with Arcus, Arcus streams a ton. I mean, he's speedrun over 100 games, I'm sure, at this point. Hey, an appearance by what's the cat's name?
Superman.
Oh, Superman, nice. So cool. Now all I can see is the guy. Yeah, no, it's cool. So you mentioned Arcus speed runs a bunch of games. What was it that after watching something like that, would take us to actually wanting or even thinking about attempting your own first speed run yourself?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, that's kind of where I started, just getting to learn more about it. And I never really thought much about trying it myself. But I got like a NES clone, like one of those HD clone consoles, like on a whim, for like $30 or whatever on Amazon, because I had sold off, all of my gaming collection
right
a few years back. And I picked up Little Nemo. It was the first game I got.
Oh wow.
Because it was pretty much my favorite game as a kid, but I could never beat it. I just didn't have the determination for it. So I decided to stream that, just like in between Magic stuff or whatever. And the best part is I was streaming it. So I was using the composite, not the HD. And then I was watching it through OBS and playing it through OBS with like a 2-second delay or something.
You were playing it in capture window. How's that even possible?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. And it's funny too, because like when I finally beat it, No Diggity won. He's a streamer and retro streamer that's around. He like hopped on and like gave me a follow. It was like, I think my first follower as a retro streamer. He followed me as I was fighting the Nightmare King, like, and it's popping up on my overlay. I'm like, oh my God, freaking out.
Trying to focus while that's happening.
Right. So I actually ended up like having to look up speed strats just to beat the game. Like I tried for a while.
Wow.
I'm not great at beating games like blind, really. Yeah. I've gotten better at it now. And so I was like, okay, so I could do this and do this. And then I was like, well, hell, I'll speed run it. Why not? That's pretty much where it started. I was like, yeah, I can do this.
I'm curious if you have this same experience. There are times almost inevitably, I really like RPGs and Zelda games and stuff like that. And inevitably I'll run into something where I can't get past something and I don't know what to do. And for me, it doesn't impact the experience by like looking up a guide or anything like that. I still get a ton of enjoyment out of video games, even if somebody's helping me out. Do you have that? I mean, is that how it was for you with Little Nemo or something like that?
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I definitely try, for games like that, if I'm going in blind, I definitely want to try my hardest. But yeah, and I think the longer I've got into playing games, the more willing I am to, to get a little outside assistance. And a lot of that, I think, goes back to time too, especially when we're streaming. And like I've got a 3-year-old daughter. Time is definitely a factor. So it's like, all right, let's just look this up.
You only have so much time to actually play through the game as you're doing this whole thing. So you mentioned Little Nemo. Was it okay? So it's a game from your childhood and anything like that. So, and you mentioned you watched some speedruns. Is there anything, were you just trying, when you watched some of those early speedruns, once you had beaten the game, were you attempting to try to just do those strats? Did you think you could improve the time? What kind of led you down the road of continuing to progress with Little Nemo?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I started slow, I think the first trick I learned, like on Nightmare Land 2, I don't know how familiar you are with the game, but
watching your stream, watched a lot of it. So,
okay. So you have to do that little boost off the pollen to get up there with the lizard, which makes that level. It's actually a million times easier. So yeah, figuring that out, I think, kind of opened some doors, because otherwise, I was just kind of mimicking the the movement and that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think I ended in like 4th or 5th place, like after my first grind. Yeah, I mean, it took me a few months, but
see, that's actually really incredible, because for those of you who aren't familiar, Little Nemo actually has a pretty competitive leaderboard. There are a fair amount of submissions on there, and so that surprised me that you were able to get there that quickly. Can you walk us through the run a little bit? What are some of the things that make the run challenging? Like what's interesting about the run?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's well, a very interesting game. I mean, a beautiful game too. Great
Beautiful,
music.
great music. Oh, I
Great.
love the soundtrack.
Yeah, and visuals. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of pacifist for the first like 80-90% of the game. You can throw candy, and put poor little animals to sleep, and then either ride them or make a skin suit out of them. So yeah, I think there are like 5 or 6 different animals that you have access to do different things. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot going on with it for sure.
What are some of like the big hic? Where do you find yourself, or when you were learning the run? I'm sorry, as you were progressing through the run, where did you find
Mhm.
out some of the big hiccups? Like, where did you start resetting a lot? Like, what were some of the barriers to moving on with the game?
Let's see. Trying to think back now. Yeah, that's hard because I've pushed it a lot further now.
You've mentioned the first trick. Even when I remember watching, you've reset a lot on the, and I can't remember the name of the trick, but you were just mentioning it where you jump off the thing. Like even that seems like a spot where you can get hung up pretty easily if you don't learn how to do it.
Yeah, I mean now it's like second nature to me to do that one. I
Right.
mean, yeah, considering I can do it with my feet fairly consistently. But yeah, I mean, there are lots of little jumps and stuff. I'd say I got hung up on. There's a basement skip, which I mean, it saves like 10 to 15 seconds. So I was going for that, back then, but like never getting it basically. So yeah, nothing major,
That's actually
like I
really good to
said.
have. That makes it approachable, at least for somebody who may be looking to speedrun a game. That's kind of nice that there's nothing
Oh
that's
yeah,
it's all stuff. It sounds like you can learn.
yeah, definitely.
Was there any new tech or anything like that that was discovered as you're playing the game more often and as you're submitting times?
Oh yes, yeah, and I'm not great at like hunting for things.
Same
Like
here.
I'm bad at it. I'll admit it. So I think it's awesome for people that discover glitches and new strats. So yeah, the former English world record holder, Havoc Prodigy. As far as I know, he did a lot. I think Yoka did a lot of the original routing. As far as I know, I think he might have been one of the original record holders for it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I think he's still like fourth or something on the board. And then Beko, the Japanese runner, the legend, came up about a year and a half ago and started running the Japanese version, which is called Pajama Hero Nemo, which I'm about to pick up. I
Oh,
wanna go for the record in that one soon too. But yeah, he came up with all kinds of new strats. And then I think I contributed a couple real small things. And then Havoc Prodigy came up with some new strats again around the time I was going for my push for record as well.
and the new strats, I assume, just are figuring out ways to play the game more efficiently, routing some gameplay, that type of stuff.
Yeah, well, so Beko came up with a new way to do the basement skip, which
Oh,
is
cool.
the method that I use now. So before you would basically just run, you'd get out of the frog suit, and you'd have to jump on the very last pixel. And I don't know if it's like sub pixel stuff going on or what, but sometimes it just would not work. And you'd have to jump at a certain height. Very, very difficult. Still difficult to do it Beko's way, but with this, you stay in the frog suit. You get on the last pixel of the ledge. You jump, pause immediately to kind of gather your bearings, and then you pause again once you're touching the ceiling. You hit pause and select at the same time, and there's a glitch that throws you to the left if you're in a exiting an animal while touching the ceiling. So yeah,
How the hell does
um,
somebody discover that?
yeah,
I have no idea.
yeah, right. So yeah, so way more consistent for me. Some people can't do it at all, but like I found a lot of comfort with that. So that was probably the biggest one. There was some stuff that I think Havoc Prodigy pulled from the TAS, some reroutes the Beko did. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. But
Wow, fascinating. So it must be fun. It's got to be fun to dive into watching some of the progression of the game and the strats. I just think all that stuff's super fascinating and really interesting.
yeah,
You mentioned the Japanese version. What's the difference between the Japanese and the North American version?
so Japanese version, shorter,
Oh,
less cutscenes. Well, the cutscenes are just go quicker.
right.
Let's see
Is that because of the text, or did they actually cut things out of the cutscenes?
the text.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
which
Cool.
I think happens a lot with those.
Yeah.
Um, Flip, the character in the beginning, has a cigar, as does the ape. So that's cool.
Too risque
Uh,
for American audiences,
right,
probably, right?
right. Uh huh.
Jeez.
And the Ray fight at the end of Nightmare Land 2 is slightly different. Like his patterns are a little different, but Becco actually came up with another quick kill that involved a pause buffer for the US version, which makes those kills about the same now
Oh, cool.
as well.
And it sounds like so the leaderboards are separated for that game there.
Right.
So once you've hit a time, or at least you've reached a time that you're satisfied with, how do you choose a game next? Like, what was what do you when did you get satisfied with what you had in Little Nemo?
Right. Good question. Yeah. So I took the record. So me and Havoc Prodigy was grinding it around the same time I was. He already had the record. He was trying to lower it. He had recorded a PB offline that he was sitting on, and I got a new PB that was like real close to record, and he posted that like the next day.
Dang.
Which was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I finally stole it, I think by like 3 or 4 seconds or something like that. And then it took me like 2 more months to get another PB.
Such a grind. That's a long time. For those of you who've never speedrun, that is
Yeah.
a long time to go without a PB. It can get very grueling at times like that.
Yeah, I was going insane. Like, and it's funny too. I took a break. It's like I got to take a break, so I played the Nemo ROM hack for like 2 weeks. I'm like, I can't take any more Nemo. I got to play this other Nemo. But yeah, so that was like a 7-second PB off of that, which I can definitely do better. But at that point, I was like, I have to be done for now. And my capture, like my computer was so bad at that point, so like I was like dropping frames off the capture. So it looks terrible. So, but the plan is definitely to go back and improve it. And like I said, I also want to. I'd love to claim the Japanese record.
I'm glad you mentioned that
because I don't want to anger Becco.
You want to anger Becco. There's depending on the leaderboard, sometimes dropped frames may invalidate your run. I know for some of the Mario games at the highest levels, if you have any drop frames or anything like that, that'll actually invalidate your run, and you won't be able to. It won't be approved. So. That can. Sure. It's unfortunate that if you want to speedrun a game at the highest level, you unfortunately you need to be able to capture this stuff appropriately. But it kind of makes. I mean, that's how competitive some of these games have gotten. So what was next?
Luckily, everybody's cool with it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's the nice thing. I mean, especially if you've been known, this seems like a reasonable run for what you've been doing before. So.
Right.
So what game was next? What was after Little Nemo?
Man, I'm not sure. I could pull up speedrun.com.
No, it's okay.
Well, no, I don't know. I've bounced around a lot. So
you speedrun other games aside Little Nemo, and obviously I think you probably know the place I'm trying to get to. So my personal story with here we go. Okay, so my personal story with StormCrow is I don't remember what made me think. I was thinking about speedrunning all the Splatterhouse games. I had just finished doing the speedrun of Splatterhouse on TurboGrafx-16, Splatterhouse 1, and so I'm like, well, what other games are out there? There's Splatterhouse 2. There's this one Wanpaku Graffiti on Famicom. And so I looked at it, had a leaderboard, and a lot of times I hadn't chosen games that were on the leaderboard. That had a competitive leaderboard. Not because I didn't want to, but just a lot of TurboGrafx-16 games don't have competitive leaderboards. Sure. So I was exactly. So I ended up playing through it casually. I'm like, this is really fun, and this seems like a really great speed game. And I was like, well, let's see who's got the world record. And I eventually got to some point where I couldn't figure out something, and StormCrow had the world record at the time in any percent. And so I pop into his stream, and I was being polite because he wasn't playing Wanpaku Graffiti. I didn't want to be rude and ask him a strat about it, but he was able to answer a question of mine about how to find a rifle in a trash can. And that's the thing that I've really loved and really embraced about this community, is that you could have a question, go find the person who's the best in the world at it, bop in their chat, and all of a sudden you know how to do something. Thanks.
Yeah, man, happy to help.
Hey, I really appreciate it. Tell us a little bit. Why did you ever choose to speedrun Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti?
Yeah, sure. And it was great to get to know you that way. And I'm sure we'll talk more about, how we continued on with that.
Absolutely.
So Cat's on Your Head, which I know she hasn't streamed in a long time.
I thought you were saying that there's a cat on your head right now.
I was going to say, it looks like I have a cat on my head right now. I saw her stream it. Like I loved, Superman left. I loved Splatterhouse games when I was a kid. The roller rink, one of the roller rinks we went to, we used to go to rinks all the time when I was young.
Cool.
Had the Splatterhouse arcade, so I played that a lot. I want to say like a friend had it on Genesis or something, 2 or 3. I don't remember which
Yeah,
one.
fun
I had
games.
no idea there was a Famicom version. So I was like blown away when I saw her playing it. So I just decided to play it a few weeks later or whatever on stream just as a casual playthrough. Took me like an hour or two to beat it or whatever. It's like, this is awesome. This
Yeah.
is funny and cute and, good controls. It's like, screw it. Let's try this. And I watched the record run from Karua, and it's like, oh, I think I could beat that. Not trying to be cocky, just like, I bet I could beat that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so went to the lab, practice some stuff. I had to learn, the same thing about the shotgun too. I don't know if I ever messaged him or not. But yeah.
So I'm curious about your approach then. So when you start grinding out a game, are you save stating? Are you practicing certain chunks? Are you just doing full runs? Like everyone, it seems like has their own approach. What's your approach to learning
Yeah.
these strats in these games?
Yeah, I'm definitely a huge proponent of using save states. I mean, it depends on the game for sure, but for the most part, yeah, that game especially, all the bosses, like I wanted to figure out exactly how to do the quick kills, um, and I wanted to know exactly what I was doing for every section of the entire game. And I came back to it too. So I did up my first grind and then I did a second grind, pre GDQ as well. But yeah, I try to look at it as scientifically as possible.
One of Karua did this at GDQ. I can't remember if it was I think it was AGDQ. But so there was cool. It's cool to see somebody be able to talk through the game and tell you what's going on. But one of the things I think you did was really maximize the control and some of the routing. So a lot of what I saw your improvements did was execution flat out. But then there was also some things where you noticed that you needed certain patterns in some of the boss fights to move through it quicker. And I'm curious, was that something that you just started experiencing or you had been testing? Like, how did you figure out some of those things to make the game go a little bit faster?
Right. Yeah, it was definitely just from doing runs. Yeah, starting to notice different patterns. Because yeah, I'd practice certain things on save state, and it's like, okay, this is working, perfectly every time. And then I'd go into a run, and I'd catch something else. And it seemed like there was only really like 2, maybe 3 different patterns for most of the freaking cat, quote unquote RNG. She's usually so good too.
That's just
Um,
making noises.
right. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting, and of course we still don't know what the hell's going on with those spiders.
No, and
Um,
I didn't think when I first played through it, I didn't think of it as like an RNG heavy game. But then, thankfully, you've grinded the time down now, where you need to have some favorable patterns if you even want to sniff a world record in that game, which is really cool. I think I think it's awesome when a game gets to that point. You've shown like how far you can go and driving a time down for a game. Do you know how long you were spending with it? Like, was this a couple months that you grinded the game, or?
I think originally it was probably like a month to a month and a half,
Okay.
and then something like 2 to 4 weeks on the second grind back, something like that.
I really think of Wanpaku Graffiti as a really actually good game. If you've ever, I say this a lot, I say probably way too much, but it's a really good game if you want to try a speed run for the first time, because there's not a lot of crazy clips or glitches that you have to do to get a good time in that game.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, and even
Good.
yeah, even if you're not nailing every quick kill on the bosses or whatever, as long as you can mainly get through those stages without taking a bunch of damage, yeah, you can get a pretty good time, and it's fun. It's a fun game.
So if you're watching the stream or if you're watching this on YouTube, the video you'll see playing in the background right now is actually StormCrow and BT's racing this game at SGDQ 2019. How the hell did that come about? How did you end up on the SGDQ stage playing this game?
Right. And by the way, yeah, we're actually watching Dance Dad.
Oh, dang it. It's resetting right at the wrong time. Perfect.
Right. No, that's fine. Dance Dad's great.
Yeah.
Or does he still call him, or is he Dance Lad now? I don't know.
Oh, is he changing his name? Jeez. Okay.
I think he rebranded.
Perfect.
Yeah. So you actually reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do a race. And honestly, at that point, I was like, there's no way in hell I'll get accepted for a GDQ. wasn't even going to submit anything. And a lot of it too is I check. It's like every game I'd ran at that point, like it had already been featured in a GDQ, and we got to know each other a little bit, So it's like
started hanging out on your stream around that time.
Yeah. So thank you so very much.
I had nothing to do with me. I just think it's more than your gameplay and stuff like that. I appreciate you saying that. It's very nice. But I one of the things is, this is, and somebody tweeted about this, and I think it's like perfect. Most of the best speedrunners out of there, a lot of the best speedrunners you've probably never heard of. And when I stopped by in your chat, it was, we're very small streamers and stuff like that. But I thought your gameplay was just like, the world needed to see this because it was so well executed. And it's a game that people might be familiar with. Like there's a leaderboard. I think there's 30 or 40 submissions, maybe even more than that on the leaderboard. Like, this is a game people know. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's getting more popular.
What do you think? What was like your prep going into playing on that stage and getting into that race?
Sure. So yeah, going into it, I think I was grinding something else, like going up to it. Or no. So I did my second grind to improve the record, and then I vastly improved it way faster than I thought I would. And it's funny too. One of the submissions I did, it's like one of the first times I improved it. I did that stupid reset thing, which is so dumb, because it should just go off. What is it? RTA timing when you gain control. But I didn't realize it started when you actually hit start the first time. So like Karua had to message me, is like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry. Technically this is valid, but it's like 30 seconds longer than," because I like hit start, reset it, and then just sat there for like 30 seconds. Yeah, so I did that, and then I think I was grinding something else for a while, and I was, not trying to stress out about it too much, and improve the record. I was grinding something else, and then we got to SGDQ, and the nerves started setting in more. It's like, oh my god, I've got to practice more. Me and BT's did a race, like just for practice, and he beat me by a pretty wide margin. Ooh. So then, like, the next 2 days, I was just like in the practice room, way too much, going through everything.
No sleep, just grinding.
Yeah. So I mean, I had too much fun outside of there too. Right. But yeah, so I'm glad I went back and practiced a little more for sure.
Well, so now the video of the actual race is on the video currently, and I'm going to spoil it. So if you haven't watched the run, you can go and stop the episode right now. If you're watching on VOD, go watch the run. But StormCrow World Records, the any % true ending. When did you know that the run was going well? Or like, when did you walk us through the run a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, from the beginning, I was, I could tell it was definitely going well. And I will say, like, there was definitely a lot of time to save in the true ending. Even I was grinding pretty much the any % exclusively. So, keep that in mind.
And it has way less submissions than the actual any % category does, in all fairness. Right. But the true ending category is only about 4 more minutes longer. It's not that crazy different between any %.
Right.
So.
And it's a great category, especially for a race like this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I mean, I got the quick kill on the whatever the girl's head that pops off. I can't even think right now. The Exorcist check, or some alternate dimension Exorcist.
I say Exorcist. It's like I think that's the movie it's homaging there at that point. So.
Right, even though the head comes off. But yeah, I mean, I was getting all the quick kills. I mean, I had a couple small little issues. Spiders were relatively fast, like not slow. So yeah, going into the end, I knew there was a shot at it for sure.
Well,
which was awesome.
I've never been able to see something like that live. And so it's one of the best performances I've ever seen at a GDQ. And that's, I'm not joking. Like, you have to, first of all, you got to realize, I mean, the 100,000 people are watching at this point, so it's like, you're doing this in front of a huge audience. And so to be able to actually do what you do at that level, it's kind of mind blowing to me. I think that's why if you get a chance, watch it, because it's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I will say, like, I was terrified. I mean, absolutely terrified of going out on that stage. Like, I was physically sick.
Oh no! Yeah, you would have never known, dude.
Right, but no. As soon as I stepped onto the stage, it was zen. I was like, I saw all the like NES crowd hanging out. Because it's not like there were that many people. It was pretty early in the morning, but all the NES dudes and ladies were out there, you know, saying hi to and everything. And yeah, I was like, all right, let's do this.
That's
And
I'm glad to hear that because you look so calm. I was like, when you were telling me that you were about that, I'm just like, no,
yeah,
you can't. You got to be lying. You're kidding.
yeah, no, once I got the controller in my hand, I was good to go.
I think that's one of the great things about speedrunning too. It's like that's one of the things it teaches you to do is to push yourself like that.
Hmm.
And I will say, and we've kind of failed to mention, but the Wanpaku Graffiti game, and I think I'd say all the Splatterhouse game homage kind of horror movies and
Hmm.
that pop culture-y type thing. So it's a really fun speedrun to watch because there's a lot of things you may recognize if you've watched any sort of horror movies over the last couple of decades. So
Oh yeah.
there's a lot going on. It's really cool, and it's got this ridiculous last boss. But besides that, it's a really fun speed run to play and to watch. So,
Yeah, that boss gave some laughs at least for us
what
with the
I don't know,
counting.
what were they thinking when they decided to make that boss? I mean, I don't even know. You have to hit him like a gajillion times to beat the last boss.
Yeah, what is it? It's like 16,
16, 17?
18?
It's in the teens.
Yeah,
It's a ridiculous
right.
amount of hits for the last boss, considering.
Yeah, they got paid by the hit or something, the programmers.
So, like, we got an idea. We could just do this. Well,
Yeah, it was,
I'm glad you did it because I'm really I think it's really cool that you're able to pull that whole thing off on that stage. It just kind of still blows my mind.
well,
Um,
thank you.
do you have like of all the games that you've speedrun, do you have like a favorite game that you speedrun?
I mean, Nemo is definitely my favorite for sure. I mean, it has a special place, from my childhood, too. Like, I don't know, I just like my memory is like being at my dad's house, and he's no longer with us, so
Oh man,
that's I think part of the sentiment to it too. Playing that game, I'd say TMNT
Hmm.
for NES is probably a close second. Like that's I just finished a excuse me, a pretty strong grind on that. Got up to fourth place, and it's an insanely difficult and complex run.
dude, that game
Um,
is like the exact opposite of Splatterhouse in that it's so
mhm.
punishing, casually or speed. Like the speedrunning, I just can't even fathom it. What the hell made you take on that game?
Yeah, so well, the record holder, Skunky, is it 48? I always forget. Skunk, I just call him Skunky.
Yeah,
I think it's
Skunky.
48.
Yeah.
Who's just a madman at
A
that game.
a
He's
beast on that
yeah.
game.
We became pals, and we did a trade off. So he actually ran Little Nemo, and I ran that. We had some different goals for it.
Yeah.
So that's where I started, and then I got like decent time. It was like 20 something place or something. And they've got a pretty big leaderboard. And then I came back to it for the TMNT Race Edition tournament that happened a few months ago. And yeah, I just started grinding the hell out of it. And I am going to go back to it, assuming my wrists ever recover, which we can dive into that a little later.
I'd like to.
And I mean, I'm not going to go for record. I'll tell you that right now. But I'd like to get either a low 17 or sub 17 time. I think his record is like a 16:43. I've learned pretty much everything I need to do that. And I have like a 17:40 or something right now. But there's just, I mean, you got to play that game a lot. So
I always got really frustrated with Turtles pretty quick, and I haven't played it recently. I'm curious, what appeals to you about the game? Like, what's the thing that makes you keep wanting to go after it like you were?
sure. So I mean, once you learn all the rooms and stuff, like the movement and the succession of killing the enemies is just like such a magical thing. Like there's this one room which I can't remember what Skunky calls it, but I called it the pleasure room. It's like when I finally learned it, like you kill like 15 enemies in a row in this like symphony. It's near the beginning of the game, and it's so awesome. Yeah,
That's so great. There's
right.
nothing more satisfying though than pulling off an awesome speed strat like that, though, right?
Hmm. Yeah, so there's that. I mean, it's a very frustrating game because the RNG of the Technodrome is ridiculous. So you have an awesome run and have to reset it, 18 minutes in. But yeah, lots of quasi frame perfect stuff. Most of it's like on a 2-frame window instead of 1 frame, luckily.
Yeah, but still,
Yeah,
2 frames is not a whole lot of time to do something.
no, yeah, and there's like 4 or 5, different parts where you got to do that stuff. Yeah, it's a really rewarding run. You put in the work, and it pays off greatly. So
There are a few games I see that pack so much into a run that is under 20 minutes. Like it is, there's never a time to breathe. Really, and I've never
yeah,
played the game as a speedrun. I've just only watched it, and it just seems like every single room there's something going on where you need to pull
hmm
off something. It's a lot.
yeah, it really is. But
Uh,
it deserves more more recognition for sure.
I totally agree. It's definitely a game that it's interesting. It appeared on Nintendo the way it did. I've always thought because I'm
hmm
not was the arcade. I don't know if the arcade game was out when that game was released on Nintendo.
I believe it
I
was,
thought
yeah,
it
because
was.
I think most people thought that it was going to be the arcade
Yeah,
game when it came out. Is kind of what I've heard. I can't remember.
you're
I know I
probably
played
right
it when it
because
was a
that's
kid.
one of my favorite arcade games is the Turtles arcade game, and this game was definitely not
Mhm.
that. So, which is it was fine. It was still I think it's a actually really great game to be, but
Yeah,
it's very punishing.
and of course and I don't know if you're going to talk about that at all, but I just finished grinding the arcade game as well.
Oh, did you really? Nice, cool.
Yeah,
That's right. I was watching
so
you do that too. So,
that's how this happened.
well,
Yeah,
speaking of
so
that, could you mind if we dig
right,
into that a little bit? So,
yeah,
this is not the first person I've met, but if you're not watching the video, StormCrow has wrist braces on both of his wrists. Can you tell us a
hmm
little bit what's happened and how this came about?
yeah. So I got this really sweet. Okay, it's underneath something. I got a really nice arcade stick because I was getting more into arcade games. Um, and I started running. I did the Nemo arcade. Actually, did
Oh,
learn the
cool.
1cc for that. And then Turtles was the next game I decided I wanted to learn, and I wanted to learn the 1cc. Um, excuse me, meant to mute that. L Rock finally actually made a tutorial too. But yeah, so I started grinding it. Finally got my 1cc, and then I started going after any percent. And in the matter of like actually, my first any percent run I ever did, I took the world record. Uh, and it's not like a huge
Casual
board, but
world record. Why not?
right. But there are like 10 to 12 times on there or something. So over the course of like 2 weeks, I lowered the any percent time by 2 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Typical
Uh,
Stormcrow destroying games.
well, and I credit, I mean, learning the 1cc is what helped because you really have to learn the ins and outs of that game.
Got it. Okay.
And then there are less enemies when you play any percent because
Hmm.
it's on a ranking system.
Oh,
You
cool.
take certain deaths, you see less enemies. And yeah, so anyways, I became obsessed. Like it's killing me not being able to play that game. And you have to do the special, you have to hit both the attack and the jump at the same time. So I'm constantly doing this kind of hard.
Oh man.
And I did that for weeks and it started to hurt. I didn't listen to my body, which
Oh.
I've ran into before. And here we are. Like it's going on 40 days or more, 45 days, I think.
Oh, jeez.
Um, I do have an appointment scheduled with orthopedist at the end of January,
Oh man.
is the soonest they could get me in. So, I mean, I've been icing, and it's not like, I mean, I can still move them and stuff. It's just they're very achy and I don't want to push it. I don't want to make it worse. I think it's tendonitis personally.
Oh.
I feel, yeah. So we'll see.
I know different depending on your body is like how sensitive you are to some of these things and how they happen. But repetitive stress is a legit thing on anybody.
hmm
And it seems that it's brutal that it happened this way.
Yeah.
Have you seen any relief by not playing any video games? Has there been any relief at all on the wrists?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little bit better. Um, it's definitely like, and I can like I played like some Dragon Warrior
Hmm.
casually, and like I've done a few little streams, but like it definitely irritates it, so I'm just not trying to push it. But yeah, I think I need to get into therapy, and I need to have it fully checked out at this point.
I,
Um,
I appreciate you sharing it though, because it's definitely something, especially if I know I know I have become obsessed with games that I just want to play. I want to, when you get obsessed with the speedrun, you want to play it all the time.
Yeah.
But this is a real thing that could happen if
Yep.
you're not being a little bit more careful. And who knows, this may have happened anyway, but you definitely exacerbated, I'm sure, with the speed running.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, and like I mean, a lot of us retro speedrunners weren't, we're getting older too.
right.
So I mean, 5-10 years ago, yeah, this probably wouldn't happen. I mean, I did grow up skating, like rollerblading, aggressive inline skating. So like I've broken this wrist. I've fallen on both of these wrists a million times. So I'm sure that
Oh
didn't
man.
help the situation at all. But yeah,
Well,
so I mean, it's been very hard. Like, obviously I'm trying to stay as positive as I can, but yeah, it's been soul crushing, to say the least. Not just for speed running, but I mean, it makes typing at work all day and stuff. It's terrible. So
well,
trying
and
to stay positive.
the positive I can say, it's a great segue. You recently just did Little Nemo foot percent or feet percent. I can't remember what you.
Right.
But you. So what the hell made you decide or to try that you think you could do this game playing with your feet?
Right. Well, I mean, I wanted to stream, and I'm thinking, what the hell can I do? Because like I don't even want to be clicking on the mouse like magic and stuff.
Right.
And I have this, this arcade stick for my NES. I'm like, I think I know Arcus did feet percent for Ninja Gaiden. Coming back to Arcus, he did his with an actual brick controller, which I think is insane. I don't know
That is
how.
crazy.
Yeah, I haven't tried it, so maybe it is better. I don't know. But yeah, I think I saw someone posted a link in his chat a couple weeks ago,
Wild.
and I was like, screw it, let's try it. Yeah, someone asked me too, like, did you like practice? And I was like, nope. I had my wife paint my toenails and for maximum awkwardness, and we tried it. So, and
Yeah.
they're still painted.
Let me. So unfortunately, okay, I have to highly recommend it because it's kind of incredible the way you figured it out too. You only had to practice things a couple of times for things that you weren't getting at first. Like did you complete it under an hour? I think you finished in under an hour.
Yeah, under 50 minutes.
Oh
So yeah,
wow.
I had to do it in 2 streams. So yeah, I did one stream where I played like 2 hours, and then yeah. So I was basically, that was my practice, I guess. But I was trying to beat it on stream, and then the second stream we came back and yeah, beat it in 49 something minutes.
I mean, that just blows my mind. I think I've seen. I think Andrew G played through Mario One, Super Mario Brothers as well. So, but I haven't seen a ton of it done before, and it's
Mhm.
I was just really impressed. For those who haven't seen the video, he's using the NES Advantage. Is that the controller you're using?
It's the retro bit version, so it's like
Oh,
that.
gotcha,
It
okay.
looks like it. No turbo or anything.
Did that? I mean, did you even? I can't imagine using like the regular controller. Did you even try it without with the square brick controller?
I did not.
Okay.
No, yeah, like maybe I will one day. It might be easier on my hip because with the arcade stick, I have to like lift my leg up to like get on top of it.
Dude, you're gonna
Um,
mess up your hip now too.
I know, right? Yeah, and this hip has some issues from skating too, falling on
Oh
it so many times.
no.
But no, it's fine. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It worked out, so I don't think we're gonna be doing a lot more feet gaming, but we had fun while it lasted.
Well, it's pretty. I'm glad you were at least able to do something that you want, to kind of definitely something I've never seen before, like that way. So,
Yeah, it was
okay.
fun.
So when I met you in person at SGDQ, you had a copy of this game called Zoop with you, and
Ooh,
I think my something to the effect of what the hell or what is Zoop? I've never even heard of Zoop before. Tell me a little bit
yeah.
about Zoop and what the hell it is.
Sure. Well, Zoop's a lifestyle, first off. Um, so yeah, Zoop. Oh man, what a game! So it's an action puzzle game. Came out in, I'd say, mid '90s, I think. Came out on like 8 different
Oh my
platforms.
god.
So let's see: PC, Mac, Atari Jaguar,
Hmm.
which is what I had it on first.
You had an
And
Atari
how
Jaguar? Oh,
I did, and I'd
dude.
love to talk some Jag too. I heard you and Enemy talking. I was like, oh my god.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Um, PlayStation, Saturn, Game Boy.
Oh my god.
There's one other one I'm forgetting, but yeah. So it's honestly like it's a great action puzzle game. It's addicting. They marketed it like crazy, but it kind of bombed. So yeah, so it's like, it's kind of, it's definitely a meme. Like I went hardcore memeing on it for a while. But then I started speed running it after I got a Super Nintendo, and I took both of the records for it within like a week or two. I've since lost at least one of them. I think somebody took the Genesis record from me too, which Genesis version is way harder. But yeah, it just became a funny meme, and No Diggity, who I was talking about earlier, gave me that sealed copy at SGDQ, so I figured we'd bring it on the couch and show it off.
I remember stopping by your stream a few more times after SGDQ, and Zoop was all the rage in the chat. It was totally beamed down everywhere, and I finally
Yeah.
understood what was going on. But at first, I was like, "What is a Zoop thing?" You know? So,
Yeah, I still get asked about it in chat. You zooping, Stormy?
when's the Zoop?
I've been thinking about doing channel points for Zoop too,
Oh,
just
it's a good idea, dude.
to feed the urge.
Have you
Um,
considered doing Zoop it all with your feet now that we're in this world?
I have not,
Okay.
but now I've considered it.
Yeah, right.
I did a Zoop cosplay stream too. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I
one.
haven't watched that one. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
you can find it in my highlights or whatever, my
Yeah.
VODs. But yeah, I did a full Zoop backdrop. I had Zoop triangle like masks, and I was zooping in and out of screen. I beat the first level blindfolded on Zoop,
Oh my
which is
God.
just me mashing the buttons like an idiot. So yeah, it's just just diving into the meme. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, like I said, fun game too.
Oh, it sounds like fun. It sounds like you really enjoy playing it and everything too. That's really cool. I don't think I've ever seen Zoop at a marathon or anything. Is there a leaderboard for it? Is there a
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
you can speedrun.com. Yep, and it's finally opened up to all the other consoles, and emulators are allowed now and stuff. That was a whole thing. So
You mentioned that you first played it on a Jaguar. Do you still have a Jaguar by any chance?
no, I
Oh
wish I did.
no.
Yeah, so yeah, I got a Jaguar like on like super discount. Like my dad, like we were at an electronics boutique one night, and it was like $50, and all the games were on closeout. And I remember seeing all the ads. I don't think I had a PlayStation yet, but I'm just like, can I please get it?
Please.
And like nobody I knew had one, so I didn't
No.
know that it was yet.
Yeah.
But so yeah, he's like, all right, sure, whatever, and he, which was kind of uncharacteristic of him. But yeah, so I got Zoop, I got Club Drive, which is like a 3D like toy car racer game, which is actually really fun. Some horrible 3D Virtua Fighting ripoff game, and I don't know, a couple others. But yeah, Zoop was the one I spent the most time with. And honestly, like I still have fondness for the Jaguar. I'd love to get one again. As I said in the chat, the guy at the local game shop I go to a lot, he has a Jaguar that a guy found in a dumpster and brought in and traded into him. And I keep trying to lowball him. It's like, no one's ever gonna buy that thing,
No.
dude. Like you don't even have it fully put together. Just sell it to me for like $50.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it.
That he's still
I
not willing to
got you.
part, huh, with it?
No, he will not haggle at all. So that's great selection, but that's why I don't visit him very often.
Jaguar is one of a few consoles that I don't remember ever seeing in the wild as a kid, nor do I see anybody with them nowadays. I rarely see them in retro shops, to be honest with you. It just seems like that is definitely one of those ones that's, I don't know if say forgotten, but just one I don't see very often out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, their sales weren't great for sure. And yeah, I think a lot of people just tossed them. Like I gave mine to my cousin. And I just saw him. He got married a few months ago. And I was like, dude, I have messaged you and you never responded. I know you don't have it, but you have to tell me. Are you positive you don't have that Jaguar anymore? It's like, dude, I have no idea what happened to that thing. So yeah, I got like a PlayStation. I gave it to him,
Oh, brutal. So you mentioned it a little bit. I mean, do you do any sort of collecting or anything like that with retro games and consoles?
I used to, and I went through, like I got laid off like 2 times in like 2 years and ended up having to sell.
Right.
Yeah, I sold like pretty much all my, not that I had a huge collection, but a pretty good NES collection with, top loader and everything. And a lot of my records, my vinyls, which that was really painful. I still have some of my really special ones, but yeah, so I mean, I don't have that much now. Like I've been slowly building it up. Like I've got a few systems around, but I mean, I'm investing in EverDrives and
Right.
GDMUs, like I was telling you about, and that kind of thing. So
It seems like that's one of the nice things about if you want to tackle retro nowadays is that there are these options out there where you don't have to invest thousands of dollars into all these carts and things like that. You can $150 EverDrive or whatever it may be for your console or whatever.
Yeah, and I'd love to collect the carts and everything.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, but money's limited for sure, and I prefer to run things if I'm gonna play them at all on
Right.
original hardware. Not that I'm anti-emulator or anything.
No.
So, but
Emulators are a
yeah.
great way for people to get in if they don't have any of their access to the retro hardware. So, you started off this whole chat and discussion talking about how you have a family and you have a job and everything like that. How when you're speedrunning more regularly, how do you make time? How do you balance all of that together?
Sure. Yeah, and I'm definitely not great at it. But I try. I don't stream until the kid's asleep.
Nice.
So, she goes to bed and, I'll get an hour and a half to 2 hours to stream usually. Sometimes if she's taking a nap or whatever, or, the odd chance they're out, the wife and the kid go, on a day trip or something. Yeah, I mean, when I'm streaming or speed running, it's usually like 1 to 2.5 hours.
Right.
Like I get in, get out, try and PB and I'm done. So
that's one thing I respected about your stream right away is that you made it a point that you mentioned when first of all your kid was asleep or the family time was over, but also when you got tired you usually cut stream, and that's not always easy for speedrunners to do. That sometimes we push ourselves past limits that we shouldn't really be doing. So I respected that a lot about what you were doing and stuff like that. Yellsrick a couple episodes ago had kind of a similar point. He said he never streams when his kid was awake, and I think that's I think it's really important for people to take notice of the things that are important as they approach speed running and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And, and I'll be honest, once she gets older, there'll probably be some streaming while she's awake.
Yeah.
Right now, she's just insane. And obviously I want to spend as much time as I can with her. But yeah, a couple of times I have streamed with her awake. She's just like, Dad, what are you doing? Just ask me, what am I doing 40 times? So that kind of thing. Yeah.
I was going to ask if she knew that what you were doing with games done quick and stuff like that, but it sounds like she still might be a little bit too young.
Yeah, I think my wife showed her while I was doing it, but yeah, she does. She's only 3, so she doesn't quite get it.
Okay, so I see it's coming. You're going to heal. Your wrists are going to be better. What do you want to do when you return to speed running and stuff like that?
Good question. So I will say I do have unfinished business with TMNT Arcade.
Yes.
So if I can, I really want to go back to it. I don't know if I can pull it off on a controller, just the way you have to do that special attack. 40-watt range in here is in chat. He runs it as well, so it's been very nice being able to watch him and El Rock run it lately. Just living vicariously through them. I want to go back to Nemo. I want to improve my Nemo record. I want to get the Japanese world record. I want to improve my Turtles time, and then past that, I don't know. I just want to have fun, and I'm putting no pressure on myself as far as time or anything to do those things. So
I like that approach. I think that's a really smart way to do it. You mentioned El Rock briefly. He did a really cool tutorial about the Ninja Turtles arcade speedrun as well. And I don't know if you ever got a chance to watch that or anything, but it's nice that members of the community do some of that work where you could, if you want to try some of these things out. I love Turtles, the arcade game. So how do I even get into it? How do I approach it? And there was something like that available. He had the tutorial. So
should do it. Hit me up. I'm here to help.
Yeah, I've at some point I'm going to try an arcade game. I'm not quite sure which one yet, but I'd love to get one in my house, but they're expensive. I really can't afford one, so it's one of those things.
Right. Well, the one-ups make it a little easier,
dude. For real,
one-ups.
There's a site now where you can actually see when the one-ups go on sale, so you can get them for a little less money than they might normally be too. It's really cool, actually. Bonk Arcade. Nice. Thank you, dog. Dog in the chat says there is actually a Bonk Arcade game.
Is there?
There really is. I've never played it.
Nice.
It's in the queue of games I need to play. So
nice.
So that's I hope that you get a chance that the risks do you some favors and help out a little bit. I also noticed that you have done some classic Magic gameplays on your casual play. What is that, the PC version that you're playing when you played on stream?
Yeah, and I've speedrun Magic as well.
Oh,
Is
you were
that what you're
speedrunning it.
talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, that's right. You were speedrunning. I'm sorry,
Okay.
it wasn't casual. My
Okay.
apologies. That's right.
So that's called Chandelar. I believe that came out in like either 93 or
I
95.
was definitely a kid. I remember when it came out, I was a kid. So
Yeah. And I didn't play it back then, but like I saw some Magic streamers playing it, and I discovered that there was a speedrun for it. The Boix is a speedrunner. He's actually going to be at AGDQ running Crowtel
oh,
Innovations. A
cool.
cute little game with the crow, which I want to check out. It looks really fun. But yeah, he used to, going back, I thought about bringing him up earlier. He started off as a Magic streamer, got partner, and then got into speedrunning, which I thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, so he actually helped me out a lot and answered some questions. But so you're going through this crazy map. It's just RNG shit show, to say the least.
Yeah.
So like I grinded it for like 2 weeks. I was like, okay, I'm not in last place. I gotta be done. But yeah, it's an awesome game, but it's brutal.
I've never speedrun a game like that. Are there things that do you have to set up your DOS box or whatever emulator you're using a certain way so that settings are consistent for runs? Like how does that work for games like that?
So I mean, because that got some popularity just from general Magic players like a few years ago, I think.
Got it.
So someone created some kind of installer that just will work with
cool.
Vista 7, 10, etc. So yeah.
So everyone's running it basically at the same rate or speed, I should say.
Right.
Got it. Cool. Okay.
Hopefully. Yeah. It looked like it.
If you don't mind just talking briefly about it, I know you're endeavoring on a new podcast. And one of the things that made me start this one is that there isn't a whole lot of this kind of content out there. And I want to hear, like, I enjoy listening to speedrunners. This is the whole thing. I really enjoy hearing people talk about their process when it comes to this whole thing. I'm curious, what set you on your journey to start one, and when can we expect it? Like, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, thanks so much for asking. And yeah, I've been trying to, spread the word about yours as much as I can.
Thank you.
As well. Yeah, I love what you're doing here. Yeah, so it's called Good Luck, Go Fast.
Great name, by the way. I love the name.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Myself and Zorilla33, who's another speedrunner that I've become friends with. Just freaking hilarious dude. He's going to be my co-host. I don't know. So yeah, if you haven't followed him, definitely give him a follow as well.
Absolutely going to.
But yeah, so I mean, it's something I'd been thinking about for a while. I've always liked the idea of doing it. I think I like what you're saying too, as far as talking about people's processes and stuff, which I like that side of it, but I also like the idea of kind of doing, going into like different sectors of speed running, and retro speed running is kind of what got me thinking about it. Just, what pulls people certain ways, whether it's, the types of systems they want to run on, or, I got thinking about like people that do like retro achievements, which like some people left speedrunning to do that, or some people started with retro achievements and have come to speedrunning. So yeah, I feel like, I like talking. I like hearing people talk about interesting things. Plus we're going to treat this as just a nice, fun outlet. Like we both appreciate comedy. Not that we're, freaking hilarious or anything, but like we've worked up some bits and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, our first episode is going to be happening early January. We both got sick. Otherwise it would have happened already.
Speaking of comedy, come on now. How
and what pushed me to get it started too was, the wrist. I was like, all right, I got nothing to do now. So, let's do this idea. And then like literally after like we announced it, I saw that you had started a podcast too. It's like, oh God, he's going to think I stole his podcast idea.
No, not at all. I think that's what I think. There's plenty of room for everyone.
Sure.
You can probably relate to this. And most of the people in the chat are speedrunners. It's not easy to talk and speedrun at the same time, like to field questions. And a lot of times you don't get a chance to, hey, that's really interesting. Let's talk about that. You don't get a chance to really do that during the course of a speed run. So that's one of the things I think podcasting is so perfect for that. And this is what I'm so looking forward to your podcast about as well is you mentioned you're doing it. I don't know if you'll do it more than once a month, but you were going to mention once a month or something more regular than that. Like just having a chance to explore some things that you don't get to do in a typical stream, you know?
Yeah. And honestly, and hopefully we can do more than once a month, but you know, Zarilla's, he's a father as well. Yeah. I think he has 2 kids.
Oh man.
And he's self-employed. He does similar work to you as you do.
Production, marketing, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And screenwriting and stuff. So he's
very
cool.
cool.
Really bright guy. So I don't want to stretch him too thin either.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's a whole world of things to do and talk about. So I'm excited.
I think it's great that some of the speedrunners have been able to make this their full-time career, but for the vast majority of us, you know, we have lives and careers and things like that. So finding time to do this stuff is mostly passion work. Like it sounds like it's something you want to do because it sounds like you want to spend some, you know, you want to talk to Zarillo about and like explore that stuff. It's not there's not going to be there's no money involved in it or anything like that. So
yeah, we want to make jokes about powdered fruit beverages. Like half of our jokes are about Tang.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I know you guys already have a Twitter set up. Is there
Gaming.
Is the stream live yet, or do we have to wait for it to go live before we can subscribe?
So yeah, you can check us out. So look us up on Twitter to find all the links. But yeah, we have a Twitch page, YouTube page, and a Discord. We would like to, I just haven't looked into it yet, but we'd like to get, you know, the full RSS feed and get ourselves out there on the different podcast sites. Yeah, we're trying to just get the ball running.
I'll include the links in the show notes in case you aren't able to visit them, but it's got a, good luck, go fast, right? Am I going to get the order correct? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's such a good name. I love it. It's so speedrunny.
Thank you.
So when you are able to make your return to your stream and speedrunning and things like that, where can we find you? Where's your place on the internet?
Sure. So you can go to www. And you have to say the www.
Like it's 1993. Yes.
Right. Yeah. HTTP. Such a dork. My website, which will take you to my Twitch page, is zoop.club. So you can go to zoop.club to find me. So twitch.tv/StormCrow56k. You can find me the same way on Twitter. Got a Discord, all that fun stuff. So,
dude, I had no idea you had Zoop.club. That is so awesome.
Yeah, baby.
That is so cool.
Yeah, well, for like 9 more months, and then they're gonna want to charge me way too much money. So we'll have to be like zoop.derp or something.
Just keep changing it. It'll be the ever-evolving door that is Zoop. Yep. Find it on MySpace. Okay, apparently we can find you on MySpace as well. Yeah. There you go. To bring it full circle.
Yes, thank you, Tiago.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the insight and giving me your time. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, dude, it's been great. I can't wait for your podcast to show. And I know it's going to happen. At some point, you're going to make your return and we're able to watch you speedrun again. But I hope you're able to heal and get better from it. So thanks for joining.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. If you're enjoying the podcast, please feel free to share it with family, friends, and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. All of those go a really long way to helping out the podcast. Thank you so much. Have a good one.